Hello and welcome to this episode of the Diary of a Lawyer. And I want to briefly cover the ongoing summit, the history of the BRICS in South Africa. Now, the BRICS, according to their own description, is a partnership of five leading emerging markets and developing countries, which was founded on historical bonds of friendship, solidarity, and shared interests. And these include the Brazil, Russian Federation, India, China, and South Africa, which, according to their own website, claims to be over 40%, 42% of the global population, 30% of the world's territory, 23% of GDP, and 18% of global trade. Now, the relationship between the BRICS countries goes back to 2001, where a report was framed an acronym discussing the return of BRIC countries as leaders of the global economy. I think the acronym is linked to Goldman Sachs, the famous Goldman Sachs investment bank. And one of the founding values of the BRICS is the shared commitment to restructure the global political, economic, and financial architecture to be fair, balanced, and representative. And this rests on the important pillars of multilateralism and international law. And in that context, the leaders of Brazil, Russia, India, and China were the first countries that met informally on the margins of the G8 Outreach Summit in St. Petersburg, Russia, July 2006. I don't think Russia, because of current events, is currently formally recognized as a member of the G8, from the best of my recollection. And shortly after that, BRIC was formalized with the first BRIC Foreign Ministers meeting, which was held on the margins of the United Nations General Assembly in September 2006. Now, the BRIC Summit was followed, the first BRIC Summit was followed in Yekaterinburg, Russia in June 2009, and South Africa was invited to join BRICS in 2010 and attended the third BRICS Summit held in Sanya, China, 2011. Now, the BRICS partnership has grown in scope and depth, with BRICS members exploring the practical cooperation in what they call a spirit of openness and solidarity to find what they characterize as mutual and common interests and values. Around 150 meetings are held annually across the three pillars of BRICS cooperation. Now, the political and security cooperation, financial and economic cooperations, cultural and people-to-people cooperation are among some of the pillars that are fundamental to the BRICS organization. Over 300 agreements, memorandum of understanding provide a legal foundation for cooperation in the areas as diverse as the contingent reserve arrangement, customs, tax, interbank cooperation, culture, science, technology and innovation, agricultural research, energy efficiency, competition policy, and diplomatic academies. And that's sort of the nutshell, but we shall just cover the basic pillars of cooperation, which include political and security cooperation, financial and economic cooperation, cultural and people-to-people cooperation, um, among other pillars, but those are the key main pillars that form the basis of the BRICS cooperation. In terms of its administrative architecture, it's not supported by a permanent secretariat or office. The chair of the BRICS rotates annually among the member states in order in the order of the acronym, and the chair sets the priorities and calendar of events for the year, as well as hosting the summit and related meetings. Now, the chair develops its annual priorities in close consultation with other BRICS members based on the chair's agenda as well as previously agreed decisions in the interest of continuity of the BRICS cooperation. And the annual chair announces a theme for its censorship since the third BRICS summit. And there's a chronology of an order of the manner in which, or the sequence in which the recent BRICS arrangements were held, which brings you to present day South Africa on the ongoing summit. Now, the BRICS coordination is managed by BRICS Sherpas and sous-Sherpas, meaning S, which is spelled SHERPAS, and all BRICS decisions are taken in consultation with other BRICS members and are based on consensus. The New Development Bank, headquartered in Shanghai, China, is the premier institution of the BRICS, and the bank aims to mobilize resources for infrastructure and sustainable development projects in the BRICS and other emerging markets and developing economies. The Johannesburg-based Africa Regional Center of the bank plays a catalytic role in providing financial and project preparation, support for infrastructure and sustainable development projects in South Africa and Africa. BRICS leaders are also established the BRICS development projects and the contingent reserve arrangement, a mechanism which is a mechanism for providing support through additional liquidity and other means to BRICS countries during times of economic crisis. Now, the architecture of BRICS cooperation extends across business, academia, media, parliaments, political parties, civil society, and sport. And BRICS has formalized cooperation with the establishment of the BRICS Business Council and the BRICS Think Tank Council and the BRICS Women's Business Alliance. And last but not least, the BRICS Business Forum meets on the eve of the summits, bringing together leaders and CEOs, and is aimed at expanding and diversifying trade and mutual investments, including through the identification of new business opportunities. The BRICS Business Council brings together large business associations from each of the BRICS countries with a view to making recommendations on issues of trade and investment related to business environment. Now, the BRICS Women Business Alliance bridges the challenges of micro, small, and medium enterprises with the need for greater economic inclusion of women in the economy. The BRICS Academic Forum, which takes place prior to the summit, brings together academics from across the BRICS. And the BRICS Think Tank Council is responsible for sharing and disseminating information, research, policy analysis, and prospective studies and capacity building. The council makes recommendations to the BRICS leaders. So that's the kind of architecture. There's a new development bank, the South African chapter of BRICS Business Council, the South African BRICS think tank, and other architecture. And so the summit is ongoing in South Africa and is being chaired by President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa. And we shall be following developments. But I think the question is whether, and what are the key objectives? Among the key objectives is trying to extend membership of the BRICS which will rival other um, global partnerships um, that are aimed at cooperation, economic development, and mutual interests, such as the G7. So there we shall leave it on this episode of the Diary of a Lawyer. Thanks for listening, and we shall speak again. Thank you. Bye.